Hare Krishna, welcome everyone, and
Hare Krishna.
uh, let's chant the prayers.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्ग्रहे ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनि इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna everyone, and welcome you all on our ongoing discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we are entering Canto number 7, where we will be seeing a very nice description about the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, how Nrsimhadev appeared and saved Prahlad Maharaj and killed Hiranyakashipu, and then a lot of teachings by Prahlad Maharaj actually. And the Canto 7 is called like the Science of God. So the whole complete sense will give us the knowledge about the God or science of God. So further in from Canto 6, so when Parashut Maharaj asked a question to Sukdev Goswami. So if you see, these are the narrations whenever the question being asked, and Sukdev Goswami is actually narrating it with an appropriate past times of Lord with he had heard or either he knew from his previous acharyas. And then in this canto, starting in Parashut Maharaj asked a question. He said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, he is actually the all well-wisher of everyone's, and he is equal and extremely dear to everyone. Then, and he is the reservoir of all pleasure. Then how did he become partial like common man for the sake of Indra and thus killed Indra's enemies? So the question also asked a couple of days back that how it looks like Krishna is impartial. But here the same question been asked by Parshit Maharaj that though Krishna is very, very, well-wisher of everyone, he's equal and extremely dear to everyone, he's a reservoir of all the pleasure, but still, just for the sake of Indra, how could he kill his enemies? And how can a person equal to everyone be partial to some and inimical towards other? That's what a question asked by Parshit Maharaj. And he said, whether Narayana is partial or impartial has become a subject of great doubt to me. So is Krishna is a partial or impartial? And please dispel my doubt with a positive evidence that Narayana is always neutral and everyone is equal to everyone. Actually, Parshit Maharaj was full confirmed that he is neutral. That's why he's saying that please clear my doubt with a positive evidence that Narayana, Lord Krishna, is always neutral and he is equal to everyone. And then Sukadeva Goswami continues further in this canto, describing a nice pastime how Krishna is favor for the demons. Even when the demons are being killed, they get liberated as well. And we'll see in 10th canto, Putana, the Putana be killed by Krishna, and all the demons were killed by Krishna, and they get the moksha. And Putana he was given the position of Dhatri or the mother. So because he wanted to feed milk to Krishna, though she was planning to kill Krishna, but again Krishna given the position of mother to him, sorry, to her. And then Sukadeva Goswami continues answering to Parshit Maharaj's question that certainly this is a very great question, and Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is always transcendental to the material qualities, and therefore he is also called as Nirguna and without qualities. So sometimes this word Nirguna being misunderstood. It's people saying that okay, when Krishna, uh, we have three modes, so he get bind by the three modes, and he's called Nirguna. But actually, he's above the three modes. These three modes cannot bind him. That's why he's called as Nirguna. And the Lord, the controller of the material and the spiritual energies, who is certainly the creator of the entire cosmos, create the time factor to allow the material energy and the living being and to act within the limits of the time. So the time factor being created, we understood the time factor has been created, uh, and then that the material energy and the living entity, they interact each other, and due to time factor, the birth, death, old age, disease all comes and goes. And thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is never under the time factor nor under the material energy. So Sukadeva Goswami clears again that Krishna is above the three modes and he is above the time. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as well. So he controls this material energy. Maya dakshana prakriti suyata sacharacharam. Also he says, I am the time factor, I am Kala. So Krishna is above the both. He's a controller of time as well as this metal energy. And Supreme Lord induces the time factor to act different ways, but he never partial. Rather, his activities are glorious, and therefore he is also called as Urushava. So his activities, the pastimes, what Krishna does is always glorious. And there are different rasas where he wanted to play the pastime. So the things has been done. Prabhupada writes in the purport saying that the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Samo aham sarva vedesu na me drishyo astina priya. So samo aham means he is actually equal to sarva bhutesu. Every living entity he is equal. Na me dvesho, there is no enmity. Na, asti na priya means there is neither enmity, neither no one is dear to me. So everyone is equal. He says, I never envy no one. Sorry, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am always equal to all. That's chapter 9:29, Bhagavad Gita. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be partial. He is always equal to everyone. Therefore, when the devatas are favored and the demons are killed, this is not his partial, but the influence of time factor. And Prabhupada writes a very good example of how it happens. He says the uh, electrician connects both the heater and the cooler to the same electric energy, or the electrical energy what we get is again both the same. And that heating, or one causes to heat and one causes to cool. So heater becomes heat and the cooler, it provides us the cool, but the electricity what it gets is actually the same. So the cause of heating and cooling is the electrician manipulation of the electrical energy according to the desire. So our fridge makes things cool, and in the other way oven, it makes things hot. But electricity what's coming to both are actually equal. But factually, Prabhupada said that factually the electrician has nothing to do with causing heat or cold, nor with the enjoyment or suffering that results. So that's why he says an example that Krishna is actually equal to all due to time factor, due to the kind of inclination of the person or living entity towards the demonic nature or towards divine nature. That's again, it depends upon the material nature and time factor. Then Sukadeva Goswami continues saying that when he actually wanted to narrate a story had happened by narrated by Narada Muni earlier to Maharaj Yudhishthir. So he wanted to quote this whole pastime of that we quoted earlier. So Sudha Goswami says, when Maharaj Yudhishthir was performing the Rajasuya Yajna, the great sage Narada, responding to his inquiry, recited a historical fact showing how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always impartial, even when killing demons. So earlier, the same question being asked to Narada Muni in the assembly of great sages by Yudhishthira Maharaj. What happened? So once the pastime goes like it. So once at Rajasuya sacrifice, Maharaj Yudhishthir saw, although the son of Maharaj Pandu, he was doing the sacrifice. So personally, he saw that Sisupal, by when his head was cut by the dicks of Lord Krishna, Sisupal, his soul, he actually emerges and it merged in the body of Lord Krishna. And therefore, by seeing that, Yudhishthira Maharaj was actually struck with wonder and he inquired about the reason for this from the great sage Narada. He said to Narada, uh, it was very wonderful that the demon Sisupal merged into the body of Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he was extremely envious, isn't it? So he was envious, but still he get a liberation, one kind of liberation that's called Sahajya Mukti. And how that does it happen? And when getting this kind of liberation is very, very difficult even for the great transcendentalist. And how did the enemy of the Lord attains it? So please explain this to me, as questioned by Yudhishthira Maharaj to Narad Muni. And he said, I have heard earlier that the Vena, so Vena went into hell while he blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in front of the Brahmanas. We understood earlier that the Brahman is the cursed, the Vena, or the son of Anga. So Vena was been killed by the curse of Brahmanas, and because he was actually blaspheming Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so he said that Vena went to hell, and how did the Sisupal got the liberation? And Sisupal, actually, he should also go to the hell. And how does he get liberation? So please explain me this kindly. And he also showed that, Sisupal, actually, he is always envious from his birth until his death. He was always envious of Sri Krishna, and also his brother Dantavakra. He also had the same attitude towards Krishna. But how these two get liberation? So Prabhupada writes in purport that, so Sisupal and Dantavakra, actually, they were Jai and Vijay, or the doorkeeper of Vaikuntha. Prabhupada narrates the story very early in the purport so that, we all know something. So the Sisupal and Dattambakra were actually very formally the Jai and Vijay, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, and merging into the body of Krishna was not their final destination. For some time they remained merged, and later on they received the liberation of Sarupya or Salokya, and living on the same planet as of the Lord in the same bodily form. So, and then, so Prabhupada makes clear that once Shishupal and Dantavakar, they went to the body of Lord as a Sahuja Mukti, but they actually, the actual Mukti or liberation happened to them is Sarupya, means they got the same form, or Salokya, or the same planet. So they went in the Vaikuntha planet with the bodily form, the same bodily form as of Lord. And then in this context, Narada Muni, he was actually very much pleased with the question of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he replied. He replied that, first he says the position of Lord, and then he explained another story about that. He says, because of the bodily conception of life, we, the conditioned soul, thinks that when the body is annihilated, the living being is annihilated. And Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme controller, the super soul of all living entities. And because he has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine, which normally we conditioned soul have. And it is therefore incorrect to think that he feels pleasure or pain when blasphemed or offered prayers. So again, Krishna is neutral to both, even for blaspheming or for the prayers. This is impossible for him. And thus, he has no enemy and no friend. when he chastises the demon, it is for their good, and when he accepts the prayers of the devotee, it is for their good as well. So when Krishna accepts our prayers, it's for our good. When we become enemy of Krishna, and then Krishna acts, that's also for our good. And he is affected neither by the prayers nor by the blasphemy. So Prabhupada says, since Krishna has no material conception of life, how can he be affected by the material prayers and others? And then Narada Muni continued by saying that the by devotional service, one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity towards Lord, towards Him. And that is my opinion. That is said by Narada Muni. So Prabhupada says, no, this should not be misunderstood, the opinion of Narada Muni. Narada Muni, what he said that, I feel that the enemies are actually have higher absorption than the devotees or the devotional service. So just to make a point here that because the enemies, they are actually 24/7, they are planning to kill Krishna, and they are thinking of Krishna. If you see, Ravana, or if you see about uh, even Hiranyakashipu, he was actually always thinking. Even if I see the Kansha, he was walking, drinking, sleeping, whatever he was thinking, he was just seeing Krishna everywhere. So that is kind of more absorption, but that absorption is not good. And then Prabhupada mentions here that this does not mean, however, that the enemies of Krishna are more elevated than Krishna's pure devotee. Right. So Prabhupada makes it clear that we should not take it wrong way, or to not misunderstand what Narada Muni is trying to convey us. He says the Narada Muni is trying to say us that according to his opinion, the enemies of Krishna are better situated because they are fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna in terms of killing him. Just as a very lusty man always thinks of a woman and their association. So the essential point in this connection is that one should be fully absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna 24 hours a day. So the main point Prabhupada says that here is absorption of Krishna throughout the day. And Narada Muni recommends that one somehow or other be absorbed in Krishna's thought, for that will save him from all dangers of material existence. And then after this purport, Narada Muni continues saying that, I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating one's mind upon him. So there are different types of mukti. That's called as sayujya, or the merging with Lord. That actually does not happen. And then salokya, then sarupya, samipya, and sarishti. So according to their, one day I think we'll try to understand this all 5 things, what they are, maybe next week sometime. And according to their own intense desire, which is called as bhava, they get this mukti. And he gives an example, like the gopis, they has very intense love for God. So say also they get liberation, or they get the higher love of God because they have the intense love for Krishna. And Kansa also get liberated. How? By his fear. He was always fearing that Krishna is going to kill me. He has taken birth. Still a child, he was planning to kill Krishna. By the fear, he got this. And then Narada Muni says the Sisupal and others, they became liberated by envy. Because by envy, they were actually thinking of Krishna all the time. And then Yadu's families, they get liberated by the family relationship with Krishna. And then you Pandavas, he's saying to Yudhishthira Maharaj that you Pandavas, you got all same state by great affection, and the devotees by serving Lord with the devotional services. So Prabhupada says, in Krishna's devotee attain the association of the Lord as his constant companion, either in the Vaikuntha or in the Vrindavan planet. So depending upon our thought, depending upon our way of loving Krishna or being enemy of Krishna, the persons get different positions. So somehow or other, he continues saying, somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. So everyone here, either demon or anyone, they actually think Krishna as his full form, a Syamasundar form. And then by one of the five different process method above, the five ways of liberation, one can return home back to Godhead. And atheist like King Vena, he's answering his question that he said, no, Vena, he went to hell, and how could this Sisupal got liberated? So he's answering his question here, Narad Muni, saying that no, the Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these five ways, so that's why he cannot attain salvation. So Vena just rejected the form of Krishna. Though he was blaspheming, but he just rejected. He said, no, I am God and I am the king. So all the sacrifices should be happened for me. That was even Vena said to the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas became very angry, and they, by their Vedic hymns, he was died. And that's been confirmed here by Narada Muni, saying that Vena was actually could not think of Krishna's any of the form in any of the way. And then he says that your two cousins, the Shishupal and Dantavakra, were formerly associate of Lord Vishnu. And because they were being cursed by Brahmanas, they fell from the Vaikuntha to this material world. And then he concludes saying that no, these two, your brothers, cousin brothers Shishupal and Dantavakra, they are actually not like us. They are actually the Jai Vijay or Dwarpal or Vaikuntha Loka. And they have been cursed by Brahmanas, the four Chatuskumara. And then they fell to the material world. And Yudhishthira Maharaj inquired what kind of great curse could affect even a liberated persons like Vishnu Dutas or Vishnu Bhaktas. And what sort of person could curse even the Lord's associates? So who were those who cursed him, and how could they come in this material world? So please explain this to me. I want to hear it because I could not believe all these things. And then the Narada Muni explained that no, once upon a time, the four Kumaras, the first son of Brahma, if you remember, they always wanted to be like child, naked, a small child, but intellectually they were very, very firm, full faith of Lord Krishna, and very, very elevated devotees. And these four, they wanted to see Lord Krishna, and they are going to Vaikuntha. And these four, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar, they were wandering throughout the three worlds, and by chance they wanted to go to the Vishnu Loka. And when they were entering to Vishnu Loka or Vaikuntha, this guard or the good doorkeepers, Dwarpals, Jai Vijay, they saw and they stopped them. And thinking that these are ordinary children or small children, how are they entering here? And when they stopped, these four Kumaras, they got angry and they cursed it. And they caused, they said, being here on the doorkeeper of Vaikuntha, you are such envious. You should go immediately to this material world and take birth in a family of most sinful asuras. And devotee explained that in the Vaikuntha Loka, or even these highly exalted devotees like this Chatuskumara, they cannot become angry, they cannot become envious, they cannot curse this by the way. However, this was a plan of Lord Krishna, and hence they are being inspired by Lord Krishna within to curse this to Jai and Vijay. What was this? Actually, devotee explained that Krishna was playing in the Vrindavan, and Krishna was doing all the pastimes with the Mother Yashoda and the gopis and the cowherd boys. He was enjoying everything. However, he wanted to enjoy something else, something extraordinary. That is what he wanted to do, fight. He wanted to fight. And if he wanted to fight, the opponent should be like that. The opponent should be kind of equal. He should be able to give some challenge to Krishna. So he thought, I do not find anyone else in this world to equal to me or can challenge me properly. So he made a plan so that Jai Vijaya being cursed by four Kumaras, and they take birth in the family of Asuras or and then they become very great power by the by their birth, and also by the austerity, and then they fought with Krishna. So Krishna wanted to enjoy this, called as Birya Rasha. He wanted to enjoy this fight. So that's why he made a plan. And Chatuskumara, they are so exalted that they could not curse. This just because of plan of Krishna. He wanted to enjoy a different rasa, so he made this plan. And then the Jai Vijay, they also gave the blessings as well. They cursed that you should go to material world, and they gave the blessing saying that, oh doorkeepers, after 3 births you will be able to return to your position in this Vaikuntha. And the devotee explained that as soon as they curse Lord Vishnu, we know very well, he was just waiting for this time, and he ran and come back to the position what had happened. And even the Jai Vijay, they fell down, and the Chaturkumar, they fell down to pay obeisances to Lord Vishnu. And then the discussion happened, and some devotee explains it like, uh, there has been given 2 choices. Do you want to become take 7 life in this material world and be very very pious, a very great devotee of me, or you want 3 lives becoming enemy of me? So the Jai Vijay, they chose uh, to become to be taking a 3 life as an enemy and return back to the uh, back to Godhead, rather than staying in this material world for 7 lives. So the some devotee explain this as well. And then this Jai Vijaya, these are the 2 sons of Diti called as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Hiranyakashipu was the elder, and Hiranyaksha was the younger. And appearing as Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Krishna, he appeared in the form of Lord Nrsimhadev, and he killed Hiranyakashipu. And in the form of Lord Baraha, or in boar incarnation, he killed Hiranyaksha. And Hiranyakashipu, actually he was desiring to kill his son Prahlada, who was a very great exalted devotee of Lord Vishnu. And Hiranyakashipu was torturing in many ways to Prahlad Maharaj, and to protect Prahlad Maharaj and to keep his words, he came from the pillar and killed Hiranyakashipu. And then he explained that Ravana and Kumbhakarna were also this Jaya and Vijay. They got 3 lives. So 1 life is Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha as a brother, Jai Vijay. In second life, Ravana and Kumbhakarna, they are being liberated, or they are being killed by Lord Ramchandra, we all know. And then the third life is Shishupal and Dantavakra, and they are being killed by, or giving liberation by Lord Krishna by his disc. And all their sinful reactions have been destroyed, and they are free from the curse of the Brahmanas. So they went back to the Vaikuntha Loka and take their own position again. And then Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired. He says, "Oh my lord, Narada Muni, why was there such enmity between Hiranyakashipu and his beloved son Prahlad Maharaj? And how did Prahlad Maharaj become such a great devotee of Lord Krishna? Kindly explain this to me." Right. So Narada Muni actually explained about this, about who were the Sisupal and Dantavakra, and who were the Jai Vijay, and this Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And then he now is going to explain a story of Hiranyakashipu uh, being killed by Nrsimhadev, and how he was tormenting to Prahlad Maharaj, and what happened next. So what happened? Narada Muni continues saying that Hiranyaksha one, actually he was so powerful. These 2 brothers were so powerful. Remember, we discussed earlier that Kashyapa Muni told him, told to Diti that these 2 sons of yours, they will be killed by Vishnu only, and they will be much much powerful. So Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu are actually very very powerful. They were very very powerful. And Hiranyaksha, what he did, he actually took all the earth planet, and dig inside the ocean. And then Lord Barha is taking the form of Lord taking the form of Barha or boar, he came and went into the under the filthy place, and there's a fight between Hirnaksha. There's a long fight happened, and Hirnaksha was at the end. It was dawning night, and then all the devatas they prayed to Bharat to say, no, please kill him, because in the night the asuras they get more powers, and so just by one slap of Baladev, Hirnaksha has been killed. And when the news comes to Hiranyakashipu became extremely angry, and he was quite angry. And then in anger, he called his all assembly. He was a king. He called his assembly, and then he said, so Vishnu is always equal to devatas as well as demon. This is being spoken by Hiranyakashipu. Actually, in second chapter, Hiranyakashipu speaks about the philosophy of soul and body. He says, initially, first he say to his fellow mates, he says, that Vishnu is become equal. However, being devotedly worshipped by the devatas, he has taken the side of them, and he has killed my brother Hirnaksha. And so, and he has assumed the form of boar to please his devotees or the devatas. So the root is that, so when the root is cut, the tree falls down, and its branches and twigs automatically dries up. So similarly, I'll kill this diplomatic Vishnu. So the devatas from which the from Lord Vishnu they get the all the life and the power and soul, the source will go away. And meanwhile, when I'm engaged in killing Vishnu, you all asuras, you go and destroy all the people who are engaged in austerity, sacrifice, Vedic study, regulative vows, and charity. So, in short, he tried to say that no, you just go and destroy any kind of religious activities being done by any person, mostly the Brahmanas. And he said, Brahmanas and the cow, he said, just go and fire the places where the protection is given to the cows and the Brahmanas. Just just fire out the places where the people studies the Vedas. And then, as instructed given to the fellow mates by Hiranyakashipu, they became engaged in this all activities. And the demons they actually started setting fire to cities, villages, and cow pens, gardens, agriculture fields, and natural forests. And they burned many hermitages of the saintly persons. And then, in meanwhile, the final rituals being observed for the death of his brother Hiranyakashipu, and being extremely unhappy, he tried to pacify his nephews, especially to his mother and his sister-in-law, or wife of Hirnaksha. And he said about the philosophy. He said uh, he gave the knowledge of soul and body to all of his relatives. And he said, you should not lament for the death of the great hero, because for a hero's death in front of his enemy is glorious and desirable. Right. So if you remember, just Vitrasur in the previous chapter, previous canto, he was saying to his all his demon friends, so don't run away from the battle, come here and die here, this is auspicious to die on the battlefield. And how Hiranyakashipu is being saying to his mother that no need to cry for this body, because his death is auspicious and glorious, because he fought with his enemy and got dead. And then he says, my mother, my dear mother, as in restaurant or the places where people come to drink water, many travelers are brought together to the place, and after drinking water or taking their food in restaurant, they continue their respective destination. Similarly, the living entities join together in a family, and later, as a result of their own actions, they are led apart to their destination. So earlier we understood about the how the waves brings the sands once, and then again it goes apart. And now here we take another example, that as in restaurant or a place of water, drinking water, people come, combinedly drink water and go to the next places. In a similar way, the family, by the prudence of time and the actions, they come together and they depart. However, he said the soul or the living entity has no death, for he is eternal and inexhaustible. So he said in this example, so to make it more clear, he quoted another old story, that was the discourse given by Lord Yamaraj. And Yamaraj, the personality of the and the friends of a dead person, uh, he narrates a story what Yamaraj spoke. So there was a place called Ushinara, and there was a king called Suyagna. So Suyagna was, again, he was a king, so he fought the battle and he was being killed by his enemies. And all his, by after killing all his relatives and the queens, and they all started lamenting for this for him. And as they were all lamenting very very badly, and they are saying, okay, where have you gone? Let us know, we'll also follow you, and there is no point of living without you. You have been so very nice king and a very grateful husband, how can we live without you? And they started lamenting loud. And then there Yamaraj took a form of small boy and came there. And there he came. How amazing it is, these persons who are older than me have full experience that hundreds and thousands of living entities have taken birth and death and died, and thus they should understand that they are also apt to die, and still they are bewildered. And the conditioned souls comes from an unknown place and returns after death to that same unknown place. There is no exception to this rule for anyone. And so this lamenting is actually useless. And he says, it is very wonderful that these elderly women do not have a higher sense of life than what we do as a child. And instead, we are most unfortunate. He's saying we are fortunate. How? For although we are children and have been left to struggle in this material world unprotected by father and mother, and although we are very weak, we have not been vanquished or eaten by any ferocious animal in the forest. Thus, we have firm belief that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has given us protection even in the womb of mother, will also protect us everywhere. And then he continues saying that being the Supreme Lord, he is completely competent to destroy and protect. He gives another example. He says, the money lost in a street, and if Krishnas protect that, no one actually picks it up or no one could see it, and the person who has lost finds it again. However, the money kept at home very securely, and if that's not been protected by Lord, then that becomes lost as well. That goes away as well. So money in the streets without protection by the person but protected by Lord Krishna, the money is being saved. The money kept very securely at home is being robbed if there is no protection of Krishna. And in the similar way, he says, if the Supreme Lord gives one protection, even though one has no protector and in the jungle one remains alive, whereas a person well protected at home by relatives and others sometimes also dies and no one being able to protect him. And he says, just like an householder, although different from the identity of his house, thinks his house to be identical with him, so the conditioned soul, due to ignorance, accepts this body to be himself, although the body is actually different from the soul. And then he continued saying that there is no point of lamenting. There is no point of lamenting for the body you have always seen lying here. He explains one more thing, that the body is lying here, and so there is no point of lamenting for this body. And he said, he actually narrated one more story in between, very nice, very short one. He said there were pair of bird called as Kulinga birds, and there were some what do you say, the killer of the birds, they used to lure the bird with some foods, and they used to capture and kill the birds. And once what happened, a hunter, actually he could able to lure the female, and he was about to kill, but the male bird, out of his affection, he was actually, as he could unable to release her from the clutches of the hunter. He began to lament for his wife, the bird, the kulinga bird, and he says, you know, my better half is there, and I can't live anymore. Please take me as well with you. And what is the use of my life, uh, living alone with half of my body? Because this is because, he was just lamenting for his wife, the bird. And even the baby birds, they are waiting for their mother. So what can we do? And the meanwhile, the hunter, who was actually hiding behind, very very, very carefully, he released an arrow which pierced the body of Kulinga bird as well and killed him. So earlier the queen was captured, the female bird was captured, and then this male bird, Kulinga bird, was being killed by the hunter. And so Yamaraj said to the queens that, you all are acting like a foolish, and you are lamenting like a foolish, but do not see that your own death is coming as well. So affiliated by poor fund of knowledge, you do not know that even if you lament, if you for your dead body or for the dead husband for hundred of years, you will never get him back, and in the meanwhile, your lives will be finished as well. And then by narrating this story to his mother and his sister-in-law, Hinakashipu said that no, uh, he relates this story to of Suyajana and Yamaraj in the form of a boy, and he disappeared from this vision. And then the relatives of the King Suyajana performed the final rituals. In a similar way, Hinakashipu said, there is therefore none of you should be aggrieved for the loss of this body of Hirnaksha. And Narada Muni continues saying that the Diti, or the mother of Hirnaksha and Hiranyakashipu, heard the instructions of Hiranyakashipu along with her daughter-in-law Rishabhana. Rishabhana is the wife of Hirnaksha, and she then forgot her grief over her son's death and thus engaged her mind and attention in understanding the real philosophy of life. So that is how we completed chapter 2 today, and we see a great learning even by Hiranyakashipu. He is teaching about the philosophy, but again we will see his crooked plan comes up. So Prabhupada again explains here that, if someone's giving a philosophy of Lord of, soul and body, but still he is not following the same, or he is not keeping Krishna in center, there is no use of that philosophy. That the great philosophy is being spoken by Hiranyakashipu, but we'll see from tomorrow, the next session, that how he started making a plan to kill Vishnu. Right. So I'll sorry for taking a bit extra time today, and if anyone have any questions, please let me know.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, just one question. When you say like Pandavas, they attained paradise because of the affection of Lord Krishna. I've read somewhere that Pandavas actually went to hell. Was that correct?
No, Prabhupada was never went to hell.
Um, like Draupadi and I think the Pandavas as well. Like didn't they go to hell or something? It's I think
No,
the Puranas or something they speak about that.
no, Prabhu, I haven't heard about the Pandavas going to hell. And even if you see, remember, if we earlier discussed about when Vishnu Pitama, the Pandavas and Krishna came there in front of Vishnu Pitama. Vishnu Pitama told there that, it looks like a time factor. Because of time factor, you have got these miseries. And at the end, he concludes saying that, Vishnu Maharaj concludes saying, sorry, Vishnu Pitama concludes saying that no, it's not time factor because of time factor is not the cause of your suffering, the Pandavas. It's the will of Krishna. That's why he wanted to make some other plan. That's why you suffered. So
Okay,
even
and because of
even
that, even Duryodhana was he attained paradise because uh, they found Duryodhana also in paradise or something, wasn't it? Because I have read this story where Pandavas also, like, after spending some time in hell, they came to heaven and found to their surprise that Duryodhana was in heaven as well.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure of this story. It might be correct. I'm not saying you are wrong, but I haven't heard anything like that. No.
Okay, I'll do some research and I'll get back to you, Prabhuji, on that. And
Yes.
also one more thing, Prabhuji, like you said that devotees and people who speak ill about Krishna,
Mhm.
um, they both can attain paradise. Is that correct?
Yes, they can enter paradise. However, uh, that's a different thing, because the devotees, they associate with Lord with lovingness, and this the demons, they get a sayoja mukti, which is not good, or there is no action there, and they again, there is chance of they again coming back to this material world again.
Okay.
But the devotees, they associate in the service of Lord, so they are always liberated. And in this same context, one devotee was explaining, I think long back, I forgot the name who his was, and a devotee was explaining that if you wanted to get liberation as well, you by enemy also you can get it, but you have to be you have to become enemy of Lord, like Hiranyakashipu or Ravana, thinking of Rama and Krishna fully absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
If you can attain that perfection, like okay, every time you see Krishna everywhere, that's also a good thing. But again, he said it's much difficult, so better is to love him and do service.
It's almost basically like what do you say? Like if you're even speaking ill about Krishna, but you're still taking Krishna's name, so it just goes into your spiritual bank.
Yes.
That sort of thing. Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
But again, the devotee explained that it's better to take the
Yes.
name of Lord with glorification. Why not to be someone's, like suppose a friend, we are blaspheming a friend on his back. There is no use of that, isn't it? But when we appreciate the friend, we become happy. We become friend. We go out for some tea and coffee and lunch and dinner. And but when we blaspheme, by seeing that person, we become envious. We get sorrow. But a friend, we become joyous. So it's on to us what we want to
Right.
get, right? Isn't it?
Right. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. No problem. Thank you, Prabhu. Any more questions? Okay, so we'll stop here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत भक्तगण की जय, Hare Krishna. So see you all on Monday, and we'll continue from chapter 3.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Everybody, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Have a good